Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Training Camp Two-a-days here on CBS Texas.com. Bill Jones joined by Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. A reminder, you can catch us streaming live from Cowboys Training Camp each and every day here on CBSTexas.com at 2 o'clock and at 8 o'clock. And by the way, we've debuted it last night at 8 o'clock each night, each weekday night. We've got Cowboys Uncut. We go behind the scenes, and you can see actual footage from what our sports photographer, Bill Ellis, is shooting here at training camp. It goes about a half hour starting at 8 o'clock tonight. Okay, Mickey, first off, let's talk about our surroundings here, because they've made some changes, and we're in a vantage point here. I don't know how we got up here, Mickey, but we're in the luxury suite level which overlooks the playing field, and what you're seeing over there is also right in front of those townhomes that was amid much controversy. That is what has become a photo deck for the photographers and the journalists out here covering the practice. But if you got enough money, you can actually get to that side of the field and get up high and see for yourself what we're seeing on the field. But it's really pretty awesome out here.
You know, I was thinking all these years they had the Jones Tower, right, where Jerry Jones in the front office can watch practice from in the middle of the field up high. And I'm looking around here and I go, this might be better than the Jones Tower, because they got refreshments up here too, by the way.
They do. Now, we haven't imbibed in any of the.
Yeah.
But what a great vantage point.
View. It's a great view. We might have to come up here. I know the city's got one of these towers. The Residence Inn has another tower, and this is a great view. You don't have to move because you see the whole field at once.
Right. We're down there on the field, and we don't have a great perspective on everything. It's amazing how our perception of this team might change if we got to watch practice from up here. All right, on Tuesday we had the second of 2 straight days of practice in pads for this team. We are now into day number 9 of this training camp. What have you seen the last couple of days as they put the pads on?
Well, you know, the one thing I've liked so far is it seems like it's a balanced practice. You know, normally early in training camp the defense dominates. But in these 2 days, the defense has made plays and the offense have made plays. And that's got to make the coaching staff feel really good that they're that far along, because normally the offense struggles and the defense is all fired up and they're trash talking. But that's not the case here. So I thought it was pretty even, and I would imagine Mike McCarthy's got to be somewhat happy, not only with that, but the pace of practice too, because they're moving, and they can't waste any time. They got only a certain amount of time with the players during the day, right, 11 hours, and then a certain amount of time that they can be on the field, and they seem to make the most of it.
You know, and that is because of the new collective bargaining agreement from a couple of years ago. They only have 11 hours out here, and I was surprised to hear that. Mike McCarthy talked about that last week, one of his press conferences. Their day basically starts at 7 o'clock out here, and they're done by 6 o'clock. They can't have on days that they've already done the 11 hours. They don't even have meetings at night anymore.
No, they only have a certain amount of time that they can spend, and going to breakfast counts, right? That's when the clock starts. So. The CBA is pretty strict, and the last thing Mike McCarthy wants, after being fined so many times here over the last 2 years, is to get fined for overtime.
And that's not a team fine. That comes out of his own pocket. That comes out of his Christmas present money.
And when he made a joke about it at the mini camp, and he kind of said something about making sure they pull back on how aggressive they are, and he said, he goes, I don't need to get fined anymore. And everybody laughed, right? And he goes, myself and my wife didn't think it was a laughing matter.
All right, let's talk about the offense a little bit, because what we saw on Tuesday was a rarity. You talked about it last night. The Mojo moment was a drill where they worked on 2-point conversions on this particular Mojo moment. These are moments that happen all of a sudden in a game, and you're supposed to be ready for it to run on the field and execute. Well, the offense executed very well. They went 5 for 5 in that one drill. It was the first team offense, completions to a couple of touchdowns to Jake Ferguson and to C.D. Lamb, Cavante Turpin, and Brandon Cooks as well. Is the offense ahead of the defense?
Well, they were for those 5 plays, I'll tell you that. And the beauty of it is it's unscripted, like it just kind of happens, and the players got to adapt. Like the first day, it was the field goal kickers, their competition began running on the field. They each got 3, and they each of them made all 3. Well, this one, I don't know that we've watched them practice 2-point conversions. Now, maybe they do behind the scenes or whatever, or maybe there was a session where they had two-point conversion drill. But this one was sprung on them. So in that instance, Mike McCarthy's got to call the offensive play they want to use. Dan Quinn's got to adjust his defense to what he thinks is coming. And, boy, the offense went 5 for 5 and using different people, tight end, Turpin, CeeDee Lamb. So it was pretty exciting.
It just dawned on me, Mike McCarthy is now the play caller as well as the head coach. Of course, he's in charge of what they do in practice. Do you think he lets Dan Quinn know in advance that the Mojo moment's going to be the 2-point conversion drill?
That's a good point, because he would have an advantage, right? I'm sure.
No wonder the offense.
Right. I would imagine it's planned ahead, but he's pretty funny because, you're the offensive coordinator, you're the head coach, and so if the defense plays well, as McCarthy says, well, then I put my head coaching hat on, and if the offensive plays well, I'm not the head coach, I'm the offensive coordinator. So it's a pretty good competitive period, not only for the players, but for the coaching staff too.
All right, I want to ask you one offensive player that's impressed you out here. I'm going to give you mine first, and it's Jalen Brooks, number 83. I stole it from Mickey, apparently. Jalen Brooks, number 83, out of South Carolina. Played 3 years at South Carolina. He began his college career at Wingate University, Division II school. He actually spent 7 months in Stephenville during 2020, the COVID year. And of course, he transferred there in January of 2020. COVID hit in March, and so he was there for 7 months. And as we're all locked down during COVID, start sending his film out, and South Carolina has enough time on their hands. They're looking at film, and they say, this guy at Tarleton State looks like a pretty good player, so they offered him a scholarship, and he wound up at South Carolina, and he spent 3 years there, becomes a 7th-round draft pick. Loved his interview today. He talked with the media today, and this kid, he's a great kid with a great story, very mature, great head on his shoulders, and he's making plays out there on the field.
And I think he's going to make this team.
Yeah.
I remember when they drafted him 7th round, right? And then somebody put this on him, and it was unfair. They go, well, this guy's going to take over for Noah Brown. And I'm thinking, just what I need, another wide receiver that can block, right? I don't want my wide receivers blocking.
He's catching balls.
I want him to catch balls, and he's catching everything thrown at him, even if it's not on target. He's a big target. He's got good hands, and he's been pretty impressive so far. So, you would like to keep 5, 6 wide receivers. Well, if they keep 6, I guarantee you he's locking down that 6th spot.
All right, now you got a guy.
I'm going to go with Kevontae Turpin. He was known as a return guy, but when he won the most valuable offensive player in the USFL last season, it was also because of his ability as a wide receiver. Well, the Cowboys didn't want to overload him last year, trying to integrate him into the offense, into the passing game. And when he was on the field, it was usually an end around to try to use his speed. Well, this year they said, we're going to get him in this offense. We're going to throw him passes. Well, they're throwing him passes, and he's catching everything they throw at him. Really nice catches, and he gets open. And as a matter of fact, on one of those 2-point drills, it was just a sprint out to the right, and no one's going to stay with him. Now, it's a matter of Dak Prescott timing the pass right and him catching the ball, but he's catching everything thrown at him. So I think that's impressed me the most of everything else is going on, not named CeeDee Lamb, who is another guy. Do you see the catches he's making out here? It's unbelievable.
Yep. And Micah Parsons, too.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks looks great.
Well, you know what? And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching Micah Parsons, and I'm sitting there going, okay, Tyron Smith is not out there. At times, Terrence Steele's out. He's making these offensive tackles look silly. And then
they're going to have a hard time making the team if they have to go up against Micah.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, well, they don't have to go up against one of the best pass rushers in the league, right? And he's going to give other people problems. They're lining him up on either side at defensive end. I was talking to Marcus Lawrence, and he was going, yeah, we're flipping sides. He goes, I'm inside, I'm outside. Nobody's going to know where we are until they get to the line of scrimmage, and I think that's awfully valuable. But he talked about taking the team into the deep water. Well, he's taken himself into the deep water. And these first couple padded practice, they're making the offensive tackles really struggle. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they're not that bad because they don't have to go up against Micah Parsons every day.
All right, and back on Kevontae Turpin as we wrap this up. Our sports photographer, Bill Ellis, has said time and time again, ever since he shot TCU games when Turpin was the star there, that this kid is not just a punt returner. He can catch the football, too. He has natural pass-catching ability, and he's showing it out here on the practice field. I agree with you. I think he's going to be a guy that it's going to be used a lot more in the Cowboys offense this season if he can stay healthy. All right, speaking of Bill Ellis, you can catch his exclusive footage during Cowboys Uncut each and every night at 8 o'clock right here on CBSTexas.com. For Mickey Spagnola, I'm Bill Jones, and thanks for joining us for another edition of Dallas Cowboys Training Camp Two-a-days here on CBSTexas.com.